Welcome to September of 1854, a time when the air itself seemed heavy with secrets. The southern plantations stretched for miles, fields of sugarcane tall and brittle under the sun, but beneath the green canopy, in the hollows and cabins, stories whispered in shadows, stories of lives that vanished without record. You can hear the creak of timber in the wind, the rustle of leaves underfoot, the faint clatter of chains left behind by hands that would never return. Tonight, we follow those shadows. We walk where no one dared to tread, where footsteps left only echoes, and the past refuses to stay buried. Imagine standing on a dirt path, the smell of burnt cane lingering from some long-forgotten fire, moonlight filtering through gnarled oak branches, every tree a witness, every hollow a vessel for memory. Before we begin, leave a comment where you are, the exact moment your heart caught a chill. Share this with the world. Share this moment of connection. The plantations themselves were not merely land. They were stages. Each cabin, each gnarled tree, each overgrown path held layers. Layers of history, layers of folklore. The records speak of enslaved people, their names and numbers. The bureaucratic documents of Freedmen's Bureau and newspaper advertisements. Runaway fate, unknown phrases scrawled on fragile paper, fading under decades of neglect. And yet alongside these cold facts, the stories told in whispers by elders, by those who survived the fires and the march, tell of another world, a world of spirits and shadows, of drums heard in the dead of night, of figures glimpsed just beyond the light of the fire. It is here, in this tension between record and rumor, between reality and legend, that our journey begins. One cabin stands alone near the edge of a plantation, its roof sagging, the paint peeled to gray strips, inside a bed frame tilted, a basin cracked. The air carries the faint scent of smoke, of decay, and something else, something unnameable. Outside, the ground is uneven. Footprints vanish at the edge of the woods. A faint mist rises, curling around the trees like fingers. The wind carries a whisper, a name, or perhaps the echo of one. The plantation records, dry and bureaucratic, cannot capture this, but the folklore does. Dream narratives preserved by the WPA, tales of ancestors appearing in visions, warning of danger, offering guidance, teaching lessons in courage and survival. Tonight we trace the footsteps, we breathe the air, we feel the weight of history pressing against our chest. Every hollow, every tree, every creaking floorboard becomes a character in the story. A story of absence and presence, of loss and memory, of fear and hope. And as we step further into the hollows, you will hear what the documents cannot record, see what the census cannot count, feel what the newspapers cannot convey. The young man, the cabin, the fields, the drums, the shadows, all speak together, layered, overlapping, forming a narrative that cannot be contained in one voice, one account. This is the world we enter tonight, a world suspended between fact and folklore, between history and haunting, between life and absence. Listen carefully. The wind, the whispers, the creaking timber, all carry the echoes of September 1854. And now, we begin. September 1854. The sun rises slowly over the southern plantations. A pale light stretches across the cane fields. It glints off wooden cabins weathered and sagging. Each cabin tells a story. Layers of sweat, labor, and silence embedded in the timber. The dirt paths wind through the fields, uneven, cracked, the footprints of countless feet pressed into the earth. Some belong to the living, some to the lost. In the hollows, the shadows linger. They move with the wind, curling around tree trunks, slipping between the cane, almost sentient, almost alive. The smell of burnt cane still lingers, a faint trace from fires long extinguished, mingling with the earth, the moss, and the damp forest floor, a scent that carries memory, that presses itself into the lungs. Beyond the cabins, the overseer's house stands slightly elevated, its windows dark. Yet, in the moonlight, something seems to move, a fleeting shadow, an unexplained flicker of form. The plantation records speak little of overseers and landowners, of crop yields and labor quotas, but they do not speak of the nights, of the disappearances, of the whispers along the hollows. At the edge of the forest, a small stream winds through the undergrowth, water dark and slow, reflecting the dim light, carrying debris from the plantation. Fallen leaves, broken tools, remnants of what was once used to sustain life. The wind carries voices, or the illusion of voices, soft, urgent, almost pleading. Some say they are the voices of the enslaved, others whisper of spirits, ancestors walking between worlds, guiding, warning, observing. The cabins themselves hold traces of life, a bed frame tilted, a basin cracked, a piece of cloth left fluttering in the breeze, each item a fragment, a silent witness to events unseen. In some cabins one can find writing, scratched into the walls, initials, dates, prayers, small notes left for those who may never return, fact preserved in the mundane, folklore preserved in memory. The plantation fields rise and fall like waves. Tall cane bends under its own weight. Paths intersect and vanish into hollows. Each hollow carries its own history, some violent, some sorrowful, some strangely tranquil. And always the wind, moving through the cane, through the hollows. It carries sounds that should not exist, the faint rhythm of drums, the clatter of footsteps, the echo of voices. Historians have tried to account for these. Newspaper reports from nearby towns, Freedmen's Bureau documents noting absences, runaway notices with the haunting phrase "fate unknown." Yet the folklore remains, stories passed down, whispers of spirits guiding the lost, figures glimpsed just beyond candlelight, instruments played by unseen hands, each story layered upon the facts, shaping memory, shaping fear. A narrow path leads from the cabins to the forest. The canopy above is thick, sunlight barely touches the ground. Shafts of light cut through leaves, illuminating patches of moss and the occasional footprint. The trees are old, gnarled, twisted, their roots thick and exposed, forming natural barriers, hiding hollows, hiding secrets. Some hollows are said to be haunted, those that no one dares to cross at night, where the air is heavier, where the earth seems to swallow sound, where shadows linger longer than they should. The people of the plantation move cautiously, carrying out their duties, voices low, eyes alert, aware of something beyond understanding. The children learn to obey quickly, not merely out of fear of punishment, but out of instinct, a learned respect for the hollows, the shadows, the voices that may or may not be there. Elders speak quietly, of ancestors walking the paths, of signs in dreams, of drums heard in the dead of night. They recall names of those who vanished, sometimes whole families, sometimes individuals, each disappearance a ripple through time. The cane fields, the cabins, the hollows, all form a stage where history and legend entwine, where fact and folklore cannot be separated. Along the main path, a large oak stands, centuries old, its branches reaching skyward. In the moonlight, it casts long skeletal shadows. The legend says the tree marks where spirits pause, where the lost leave traces. Nearby, a cabin once occupied by a family, abandoned. Smoke stains on the walls, a chair tipped over, small belongings scattered. The archives note that the family disappeared overnight. No record of where, no trace left, only folklore whispers of their crossing into the hollows, guided by unseen hands. The environment itself seems alive. The creek murmurs, the wind sighs, the shadows move. The plantation is a living memory, a palimpsest, each generation leaving marks, each disappearance layering upon the next. In some nights, travelers hear music, faint ethereal, a melody that should not exist. Yet some swear they hear it, spirituals sung by the absent, instruments played in the hollows, drumming that matches heartbeats, blending fact with the intangible. As the sun sets, the plantation transforms, light retreats, shadows lengthen, the hollows grow deeper. The forest seems to breathe. The wind carries new voices. Whispers become more distinct, almost intelligible. It is in these moments that history and folklore meet. The documents provide dates, names, census records, runaways listed, military notices, but the hollows, the shadows, the music, the whispers, carry the lived experience, the emotion, the terror, the hope. This is the stage, the context, the foundation for the stories that follow, the people, the land, the shadows, all intertwined, all present, all waiting for the next step. And now, we begin to trace the first footsteps, of those who vanished, and of those who remember. The first disappearance comes suddenly. A young enslaved man named Samuel, last seen near the Western Hollow. Clara remembers hearing the whispers about him as a child, the elders saying his spirit still walks the paths where the cane bends low. The plantation records note his absence. Runaway fate unknown, a phrase repeated across brittle ledger pages fading with time. Yet folklore preserves a different story, that Samuel walked beyond the plantation boundaries guided by voices only he could hear, by shadows that stretched and bent to lead him through the darkness. Clara thinks of the Johnson family, 4 people who vanished overnight, the cabin left intact smoke stains along the walls, chairs toppled, belongings scattered. Official records mark only the absence. Census notes blank where names once were. Yet neighbors whispered of shadows moving past windows, lantern light flickering unnaturally, and soft music, spirituals sung by no living voice. Clara imagines them walking the hollows, now unseen, yet present, guiding the lost, protecting secrets not meant for the living. Another case reaches her ears, a young girl named Lila, last seen near the creek. The Freedmen's Bureau reports her missing fate unknown, but folklore insists she was met by a figure in white, guiding her through the hollows, the forest bending around her, teaching her the paths that the living could not see. Clara shivers at the thought, imagining herself walking that same path, shadows brushing her shoulders, voices in the wind echoing names long forgotten. The plantation creek winds silently, water dark, slow, reflecting shapes that are not her own. Samuel's footsteps, the Johnsons' presence, Lila's passing, layered upon one another, visible only to those who watch carefully. Clara traces the edge with her eyes, the moss slick beneath her fingers, the wind carrying faint whispers. She wonders if the drums she hears are real or echoes of a memory. A hollow opens suddenly along her path. The air grows colder, thick with scent of damp earth. Clara steps carefully, roots twist like hands. Shadows seem to form figures. She feels a pulse in the ground beneath her, rhythmic, as if the missing are still marching, still singing, still guiding. The plantation records cannot explain it. Only folklore carries the truth of these unseen footsteps. Clara pauses to listen, distant drums echoing irregularly, some nights steady, some nights faltering. They match heartbeats, some of the living, some of the absent. She feels the weight of all the vanished souls, their memory pressing against her chest, yet the hollows offer no malice, only a test, a recognition of courage, an invitation to witness. The cane fields themselves seem alive, bending in patterns, almost deliberate, paths vanishing and reappearing. Clara notes how some hollows are deeper than others, some darker, yet all hold traces of life once present. Whispers, shadows, footsteps, drums, spirituals, voices layered upon the factual record of the plantation, a rhythm older than the land itself. Another disappearance, a young man, Michael, seen leaving the quarters at dusk, never returning. Neighbors reported glimpses of a shadow crossing the hollow, a faint shape that moved without touching the ground. Official records mark only the absence. Folklore preserves his journey, claiming he followed Samuel through secret paths, guided by unseen hands, through hollows where moonlight bends unnaturally. Clara remembers nights listening to elders, stories of figures appearing at twilight, ghostly preachers predicting events, drums sounding in the fields with no drummer present, musical instruments played by unseen hands. Each tale a lesson, a warning, a fragment of the plantation's memory. Fact layer gives the dates, names, absences. Folklore layer gives the pulse, the life, the presence. She walks past a cabin abandoned for decades, wood gray and splintered, smoke stains still visible on walls, the floorboards warped, a chair toppled, inside small belongings scattered. Clara imagines the family's last night, the fear, the whispers of spirits guiding them, the soft music rising from hollow drums, blending the seen and unseen, teaching her what the records cannot. The creek reflects more than sunlight. Clara glimpses shadows, indistinct, moving in tandem with the cane, faces she cannot name, figures half glimpsed, the rhythm of footsteps echoing against water and soil. Samuel, the Johnsons, Lila, layered upon one another, the plantation alive with memory, absence, and spirit. Every hollow tells a story, The wind carries syllables she cannot understand, yet feels familiar. She hears names, warnings, guidance, teaching her to respect the paths, the drums, the shadows, the spirits embedded in the soil. Each disappearance builds upon the last, a network of absence. Each echo a map, each whisper a history lesson. The plantation records, cold and bureaucratic, note only crops owners and labor quotas. Yet folklore preserves movement, presents life, rhythm. Clara feels it vibrating through her feet, through her chest, a heartbeat of those who vanished, still marching, still singing, still present in the hollows. The drums grow louder as she moves deeper. The wind carries voices now more distinct, almost intelligible, urging her onward, warning her, naming the lost. Each step she takes connecting her to Samuel, to Lila, to the Johnsons, to every life that vanished yet was never truly gone. The trees themselves seem to lean toward her, branches twisting, forming shapes, faces, hands reaching, yet vanishing, each hollow a repository of absence and memory. Clara senses she is being watched, not with malice, but with the weight of history, a demand to witness, to remember, to carry forward the story. Even the soil feels alive beneath her feet, compressed with centuries of footsteps. The weight of labor fear, hope loss, shadows shifting with the wind, drums echoing, voices layering upon the factual record, the hollow itself a living archive, the plantation a repository of what the documents cannot contain. The young man, the family, the girl, all paths converge, shadows move in patterns she cannot fully discern. Clara steps carefully, the pulse of the drums matching her heartbeat, a rhythm older than the plantation, guiding, teaching, testing courage and faith. She pauses at the edge of the western hollow, the air heavier, colder, whispers almost intelligible now, telling her what the records cannot. Footsteps she cannot see, names she cannot read, yet knows. The missing are not gone, only walking another path, layered atop the living world. And as Clara moves forward, she feels the hollows close around her, shadows dancing, drum beats rising and fading, the weight of those absent pressing softly against her mind, each step connecting her to the past, the folklore, the history, the spirits embedded in the land. The plantation, the hollows, the creek, the cabins, all become characters, shaping events beyond human understanding, layering fact and folklore, the present and the vanished intertwined. Clara moves carefully, aware, respectful, witness to what remains unseen. Tonight, the young man, the Johnsons, Lila, and countless others march still, through the hollows, through the cane, through memory and legend. The drums echo, the voices sing, the shadows move, and Clara walks among them, observing, recording, feeling, becoming part of the story. The evening falls quickly. Shadows stretch across the cane fields. Clara feels the air thicken, the hollows darken. Every step carries a weight she cannot name. The wind carries whispers, low and urgent, almost a warning. A distant cabin flickers with light, too faint to be human. Clara approaches cautiously, heart pounding. The door creaks as though pushed by an unseen hand. Inside, nothing stirs, yet the air feels heavy, charged with presence. Suddenly, the rhythm of drums echoes from the hollows, steady, insistent. Clara follows the sound, each step synchronized with the pulse. She senses the spirits of the vanished marching alongside her, guiding, testing, observing. Along the forest edge, she sees movement, fleeting shapes between the cane, almost human, almost shadow. The figures vanish as quickly as they appear, a family of spirits. The Johnsons, perhaps, their passage recorded only in memory and folklore. Clara recalls Samuel's story, how he disappeared into the western hollow, the elders claiming he walked unseen paths, guided by drums and shadows. She wonders if she sees him now, his presence layered upon the wind, the whispers, the drum beats. Near the creek, Lila's legend comes alive. The soft glow of moonlight illuminates ripples, shadows dance across the water. Clara feels the pull, as though the girl's spirit beckons her, the folklore insisting she is not lost, only walking a path the living cannot see. The plantation records provide no answers, only absences, blank spaces, names erased or unaccounted for. Yet the hollows tell another story, one of movement presence, continued life in forms unseen. Clara steps carefully through a sunken path, moss and roots thick beneath her feet. Shadows twist and bend. She senses someone nearby, not malevolent, but aware, perhaps testing her courage, teaching her to observe. Suddenly, a distant fire flares, unnatural contained. The smell of burnt cane rises. Clara follows the smoke, each step revealing twisted trees, hollows deeper than she imagined, paths intersecting, vanishing. A drumbeat grows louder, faster, rhythmic, almost commanding. Clara's heartbeat matches it. She feels the presence of many, soldiers of memory, ancestors marching still, their footsteps pressing into the earth alongside her own. She notices a cabin along the path, roof-sagging walls scorched, inside signs of life abandoned, a chair tipped over, clothing strewn, the air heavy with absence, whispers rising from the corners, echoing through the hollows. The wind shifts, carrying voices, names, warnings. Clara hears them clearly now, guiding her, leading her deeper into the plantation, every hollow alive, every shadow a reminder of past presence. Clara pauses, listens. A figure appears briefly, draped in white, vanishes before she can reach it. The rhythm of drums continues, soft spirituals layered upon the echo, teaching her the path, the history, the memory. A path she thought familiar twists unexpectedly, the forest reshaping itself, the shadows moving as if conscious. She senses the young man Samuel passing silently beside her, unseen, yet undeniably present. Suddenly the ground dips into a hollow, colder, darker, the scent of earth and decay strong. Clara steps cautiously, roots twisting like hands, the drumbeat louder, insistent, shadows reaching, yet protective, guiding her courage. She hears laughter, faint, disembodied, belonging to the vanished, the Johnson's family. Lila voices layered across time, echoing through trees, calling her to witness, to remember, to follow the rhythm of the past. The creek bends, shapes flicker, spirits crossing water and land. Clara imagines herself among them, walking unseen paths, listening to drum beats, guided by shadows and whispers, each step closer to understanding. A cabin looms ahead, roof-caved walls charred, inside remnants of life abruptly abandoned. Clara enters cautiously. The air feels thick, almost tangible, whispers stronger, a presence insisting she acknowledge, observe, carry forward the story. As night deepens, the drums, the whispers, the shadows converge. Clara feels the climax building, the plantation alive, memories, folklore, and fact intertwining. Every step, every breath, a connection to those who vanished. She stands in the center of the hollow, surrounded by shadows and echoes. The rhythm of the drums matches her heartbeat. The voices guide her, warning, welcoming, teaching. She becomes witness, part of the story, the living and the unseen converging in the night. The next morning, the hollows seem quieter, yet a tension lingers, the air heavy with memory. Clara moves cautiously, each step measured, the fields stretching endlessly, yet shadows cling to every tree, every broken fence. Historical records tell of the Exoduster migrations, maps marking paths through the South, census records noting absences, military documents detailing soldiers' fate unknown. Clara studies them briefly, notes the gaps, the stories not captured, the lives erased. Folklore fills those gaps. The missing are not gone, only walking paths invisible to the living, ancestors guiding them, protecting them, moving in rhythm with the earth. The wind carrying whispers only some can hear. Clara feels their presence, a pulse in her chest, echoing the drumbeats of P3. She reaches the old Johnson cabin again, charred walls standing as relics of absence. Inside signs of hurried departure, beds unmade, utensils scattered. Yet there is a rhythm in the disorder. The whispers tell her of family moving through the hollows, unseen, yet observed. A creek runs nearby, water reflecting the pale morning sun. Clara kneels, dips her hands, and sees shadows move beneath the surface. Reflections of people who vanished, faces she cannot name. The drums beat faintly in her ears, a heartbeat of the missing. The plantation records note soldiers missing from a regiment, fate unknown, yet folklore tells they march still, along hollowed paths, through fields no longer cultivated. Guided by ancestors, the living only sensing them in flashes of shadow. Clara imagines their footsteps beside her own. She walks deeper into the forest, roots twisting like fingers beneath her feet, the hollow widening, shadows shifting almost aware. A faint melody rises, spirituals sung by no living voice, instruments played by unseen hands, teaching lessons in courage, patience, and remembrance. The air grows colder, heavier. Clara feels her pulse align with the drums, the rhythm guiding her through hollows that twist unnaturally, the wind carrying whispered names, stories overlapping, Samuel, Lila, the Johnsons, all present, all absent. Another disappearance, a young boy, Jacob, last seen near the eastern hollow. The ledger notes absence. The folklore insists he walks still through Cane Creek and cabin, guided by shadow and drumbeat, the rhythm of memory, the pulse of history. Clara senses him near. She pauses, listening, the forest alive with sound, faint footsteps echoing, drums beating in irregular patterns, shadows moving along the hollows, the air vibrating with presence. Clara realizes the plantation itself is a living memory, preserving both fact and folklore. The creek bends sharply, shapes flicker on its surface. Clara sees glimpses of figures moving between water and land, the missing, walking paths invisible to her eyes, yet palpable in rhythm and air. She breathes deeply, aligning herself with their passage. The young man Samuel, the Johnsons, Lila, Jacob, all layered in the hollows. Clara moves among them, each step guided by whispers, by drums, by unseen hands. Every shadow carries a lesson, every echo a warning, every ripple a story. The plantation records remain, cold, bureaucratic, names, numbers, absences, yet the hollows preserve life, movement, memory, rhythm. Clara feels their pulse, the heartbeat of the lost, still marching, still singing, still present. She hears voices, calling names she does not know, some warning, some instructing, some whispering gently, guiding her through unfamiliar hollows, teaching her the rhythms of the unseen world, of those who vanished yet persist. A cabin stands ahead, abandoned walls, scorched roof sagging, inside belongings scattered. Clara feels the presence of the vanished, whispers rising from the corners, echoing across time. Samuel, Lila, the Johnsons, layering upon each other, forming a tapestry of memory. The wind shifts suddenly, carrying multiple voices, overlapping, rhythms of drums, echoes of footsteps, every hollow alive with the past. Clara steps carefully aware, respectful, observer of a world unseen by ordinary eyes. She notices movement, fleeting shadows between the cane, almost human, almost spirit. Clara recognizes them as guides, ancestors, figures ensuring the memory of the vanished remains. Their footsteps aligned with the rhythm of the land. The air grows thick, charged, the hollows vibrating with stories. Drums now loud, commanding, voices rising, instructing, calling Clara forward, deeper into the plantation, into the convergence of fact and folklore, of memory and absence. Clara feels the climax building, the plantation alive, history, legend, and spirit intertwined, each step, each breath, a connection to those who vanished, who still walk, who still march, who still sing in the hollows. The creek, the fields, the cabins, all repositories, absence, memory, spirit, teaching Clara, teaching the living, the weight of what the records cannot show, the pulse of what the folklore preserves. She stops briefly, listens, feels the drumbeat in her chest, the rhythm of those who walked before, guiding her, welcoming her, testing her, preparing her for the next step, deeper into the hollows, deeper into history. The sun sets fully now, the cane fields darken, shadows lengthen, and the hollows breathe. Clara moves cautiously, each step measured, the wind carrying whispers from all directions, echoes of those who vanished long ago. She reaches the western hollow again, the air thick, cold, heavy with memory. Roots twist beneath her feet like fingers. The drumbeat she has followed grows louder, more insistent, rhythm, aligning with her heartbeat. She feels presence all around, unseen yet undeniable. Suddenly a flash of light catches her eye. A figure in white, draped ethereal, standing beside a hollow. It does not move, yet she senses it watching, guiding, waiting. The whispers rise in intensity, voices overlapping, carrying names, warnings, prayers. Clara steps forward, each hollow revealing traces of the missing, a bed frame tilted, a basin cracked, chairs overturned, belongings strewn, every object echoing absence, yet charged with energy. The missing still walking, still present. The drums become a symphony, low and commanding, rhythm weaving through the hollows, each beat syncing with the whispers. Clara senses Samuel marching, Lila gliding through shadows, the Johnsons' family moving silently across fields, their paths layered upon one another, a convergence of past and present. She approaches the creek, the water reflecting fragmented moonlight, shapes flicker beneath the surface, spirits crossing water and nest, voices singing spirituals, some soft, some loud. Clara feels the pull, as if she is stepping into another realm, guided by unseen hands. An old cabin looms ahead, roof-caved walls scorched, the air heavy, charged, whispers rising, drums echoing. Clara steps closer, inside remnants of hurried departure. She senses the presence of the vanished, not threatening, protective, guiding her understanding. Suddenly movement in the trees, shadows twisting unnaturally, shapes forming and dissolving. Clara feels herself at the center of a living memory, the plantation itself vibrating with presence, every hollow alive, every path a conduit for spirits and stories. The wind shifts, voices layering, calling names she does not know, some instructing, some warning, some gently guiding. Clara listens intently, aligning her steps with the rhythm. The drumbeat becomes the pulse of the plantation itself, the heartbeat of the vanished. She moves deeper into the hollows, past familiar cabins, over roots through thick cane, the air heavy, charged with history, each shadow carrying energy, each whisper carrying instruction, guiding her toward the heart of the plantation, toward the convergence of fact and folklore. Clara pauses at a central hollow. The ground dips, forming a natural amphitheater. Shadows crowd around. The drumbeat peaks, voices crescendo. She feels the presence of all who vanished here. Samuel, Lila, the Johnsons, soldiers missing from regiments, all marching, singing, present in rhythm and shadow. A sudden gust of wind carries music, faint, ethereal, spirituals layered over drumbeats. Clara senses the ancestral guidance, the lessons of survival, the echoes of courage and fear. The hollow becomes a living narrative, teaching what the records cannot. The air vibrates. The ground seems to pulse, every shadow and whisper converging. Clara realizes the plantation is alive, memory and spirit intertwined. She is witness, part of the story, the rhythm of the vanished guiding her steps, shaping her perception, shaping understanding. Suddenly a figure steps forward, only half formed, translucent, draped in white. Clara senses recognition. This is one of the lost, guiding her, testing her, inviting her deeper, the drumbeat syncing with her breath, the whispers forming words she cannot fully understand. She moves toward a hollow deeper than any before, darkness nearly complete, shadows stretching unnaturally, drums commanding, whispers urgent, voices layering, the past pressing into the present, the convergence of fact and folklore reaching its peak. Inside this hollow, Clara sees remnants, scattered belongings, smoke stains, evidence of hurried departure. Yet the energy is strong, the spirits present, moving, protective, leading her to witness, to carry the memory forward. The creek nearby flows quietly, yet within it, shadows of those who vanished move, crossing water and land, their rhythm shaping Clara's steps. She feels the heartbeat of all missing souls, a living pulse, guiding teaching, insisting she acknowledge their existence. Clara pauses, listening, heart racing, the drumbeat echoing through every hollow, every shadow, voices singing, chanting, whispering, some names familiar, some unknown, all layered, all alive, forming a tapestry of memory loss and survival. The plantation stretches around her, alive with presence, shadow sound and memory converging. Clara steps carefully, every hollow, every path, teaching her, shaping her understanding, imprinting the rhythm of the missing upon her. She realizes the hollows are alive not with fear, but with guidance, not with malice, but with memory, not with absence, but with continued presence. Every shadow, every whisper, every drumbeat, a lesson, a story, a life. as night deepens. The convergence reaches its peak. Clara feels herself at the center of centuries of memory. Every disappearance, every shadow, every pulse, every voice, culminating in a living archive of the plantation. The past and folklore intertwined, guiding her, testing her, transforming her. The night begins to fade, shadows shrinking under the first pale light of dawn. Clara stands still, feeling the weight of the plantation, of all those who walked here before, the missing, the vanished, the unseen. The hollows grow quiet, yet their memory lingers. Whispers echo faintly in the wind. The drumbeat softens, but it has not stopped. Samuel, Lila, the Johnsons, all still moving, still present, in rhythm, in shadow, in memory. The cabins remain, abandoned, weathered, silent witnesses to absence, yet alive with stories. Each plank, each broken window, a repository of life once present, a container of legacy and folklore. Clara touches the wood, feeling the past pulse beneath her fingers. Creeks and paths carry memory, water reflecting shadows of those who vanished, footprints fading, yet their echo remains, guiding the living, shaping understanding. The land itself becomes a teacher, every hollow a lesson, every whisper a story. Historians continue to study the records, census documents, runaway notices, military logs, yet gaps remain, absences unaccounted for. Folklore fills the void, drumbeats, shadows, whispers, the pulse of those who walked and vanished, teaching those who follow. Clara moves slowly, absorbing the landscape, feeling the presence of ancestors, the rhythm of the missing still marching, the stories etched into every tree, every hollow, every path. The plantation alive with memory loss and survival. Spirituals once sung in hidden cabins echo softly in her mind, voices of the past singing to the present, teaching, warning, comforting. The rhythm of survival continues, layering past and present into a living archive. The forest shifts subtly, shadows move, the wind carries faint syllables, names, warnings, guidance. Clara listens intently, understanding that absence does not mean gone. The missing live in every hollow, every whisper, every heartbeat of the land. She walks to the edge of the plantation, the sun rising fully now, light spilling across the fields, the hollows casting long, pale shadows. Yet the presence remains, the pulse of memory, folklore, and fact, all converging, teaching endurance, guiding remembrance. The young, the vanished, the lost, Samuel, Lila, the Johnsons, Jacob, their stories layered upon the land, the hollows, the cabins, the creek. Clara senses them everywhere. The convergence of history and folklore, alive and persistent. The records cannot capture the feeling, only the data, only names, dates, absences. But the land, the hollows, the shadows, carry truth, pulse of memory, drumbeat of survival, voices still teaching, still guiding, still present. Clara pauses, breath catching. The wind carrying spirituals whispers drumbeats, the rhythm of those who walked before, a living connection to the past, shaping the present, reminding the living to witness, remember, honor. The plantation stretches around her, alive, even as she steps away, shadows fading, yet lingering, the hollows holding memory, the drums echoing softly, voices murmuring, teaching the value of presence, the persistence of memory. Every cabin, every path, every creek, repositories of lives, layered with stories, whispers, drumbeats. Clara knows the lessons of the missing are embedded here, waiting, teaching, guiding, to those willing to listen, to bear witness. She turns toward the rising sun, the fields glowing in gold light, yet the shadows remain, the hollow still breathing, the whispers still echoing, the pulse of the lost steady and enduring. Clara feels part of it, connected, a witness carrying the memory forward. The plantation may be silent to some, invisible to many, yet to those who listen, those who walk the hollows, it is alive, the pulse of fact and folklore intertwined, every absent step teaching the living, shaping understanding, preserving memory. And so the story continues, not in records alone, not only in folklore, but in every footstep, every whisper, every drumbeat. Clara walks forward, carrying the weight of absence, the rhythm of the lost, the legacy of the plantation. The hollows hold their secrets, yet they offer lessons, guidance, and connection. The past is not gone. It waits, in every shadow, every whisper, every drumbeat, teaching warning and guiding. Clara pauses one last time, looking across the fields, the wind carrying names, voices, rhythms, the plantation alive with memory, history, and folklore, and she steps forward, understanding, witnessing, carrying the story. The camera would linger on the hollows, the cabins, the creek, fading slowly, leaving only echoes, whispers, drumbeats, a story that never ends, reminding us that history, memory, and spirit persist. And now, the echoes remain, for all who listen, all who remember, all who follow the paths of those who vanished, yet never truly left.